Article 1. The role of ocean currents in global climate regulation. Ocean currents are vast, continuous movements of seawater that play a crucial role in regulating Earth's climate. These currents, driven by a combination of wind, water density differences, and the rotation of the planet, distribute heat and nutrients across the globe. Without the circulation of ocean currents, many regions of the Earth would experience extreme temperature variations, making them less hospitable to life. By transporting warm water from the equator toward the poles and cold water from the poles toward the equator, ocean currents help to maintain a balance in the planet's climate system. Ocean currents are classified into two main types: surface currents and deep ocean currents. Surface currents, which move the upper 400 meters of the ocean, are primarily driven by wind patterns and are strongly influenced by the Coriolis effect, which is the deflection of moving objects caused by Earth's rotation. In contrast, deep ocean currents, also known as thermohaline circulation, are controlled by differences in water density, which are determined by temperature, therma, and salinity, haline. Together, these currents form a global conveyor belt that continuously circulates water throughout the world's oceans. One of the most prominent examples of ocean current influence is the Gulf Stream, which carries warm water from the Caribbean Sea across the North Atlantic Ocean toward Europe. This powerful current is a critical reason why much of Western Europe enjoys a relatively mild climate, despite being located at northern latitudes. In contrast, the California current carries cool water southward along the western coast of North America, moderating the climate of coastal regions like California and supporting nutrient-rich waters that sustain diverse marine life. The process of thermohaline circulation demonstrates the intimate connection between ocean currents and global climate. In polar regions, cold, salty water becomes denser and sinks to the deep ocean, initiating the movement of deep currents. This dense water then slowly flows along the ocean floor toward the equator, where it eventually rises and warms, completing the cycle. This slow-moving system, sometimes referred to as the global ocean conveyor belt, can take hundreds or even thousands of years to complete a full circuit, yet it is essential in distributing heat and regulating the planet's climate patterns. Ocean currents not only influence regional climates, but also affect weather patterns and precipitation. For example, the El Niño Southern Oscillation, ENSO, is a climate phenomenon caused by changes in the Pacific Ocean's currents and surface temperatures. During an El Niño event, the weakening of the normally westward-blowing trade winds allows warm water to move eastward toward South America. This shift disrupts normal rainfall patterns, leading to flooding in some regions and droughts in others. Conversely, La Niña events, characterized by unusually strong trade winds and cooler ocean temperatures, bring a different set of weather disturbances, including more intense hurricanes in the Atlantic. The impact of climate change on ocean currents has become an area of significant scientific concern. As global temperatures rise, polar ice is melting at an accelerated rate, injecting large amounts of freshwater into the oceans. This influx of freshwater reduces the salinity and density of seawater in critical regions like the North Atlantic, potentially slowing down thermohaline circulation. A weakening of these currents could have profound consequences, including more extreme weather events, disruptions to marine ecosystems, and further acceleration of global climate change. Beyond their climatic influence, ocean currents are vital to marine life because they facilitate the transport of nutrients and oxygen. Upwelling currents, which bring cold, nutrient-rich water from the depths to the surface, create some of the most productive marine ecosystems on the planet. Areas like the coasts of Peru and California benefit from these nutrient surges, supporting massive populations of fish, seabirds, and marine mammals. A disruption in these currents due to climate change could lead to declines in fisheries and threaten food security for millions of people worldwide. Understanding and monitoring ocean currents is therefore critical for predicting climate behavior and preparing for environmental changes. Scientists employ a combination of satellite observations, buoys, and computer models to track the movement of ocean water and forecast its effects on global weather systems. As research advances, it becomes increasingly clear that ocean currents are not just a background feature of Earth's oceans, but a dynamic, interconnected system that underpins life and climate stability on our planet. Article 2. The history and impact of the cooperative movement in agriculture. Throughout human history, agriculture has been the backbone of societies, providing food, resources, and economic stability. Yet, small-scale farmers have often faced significant challenges, including market fluctuations, lack of access to credit, and limited bargaining power. One of the most influential solutions to these problems has been the development of agricultural cooperatives. These organizations allow farmers to pool resources, share risks, and collectively market their products. The cooperative model has not only strengthened local farming communities, but has also had long-lasting economic and social impacts across the globe. Agricultural cooperatives trace their origins to the 19th century, particularly in Europe. In the early 1800s, many rural communities were struggling with food insecurity, poverty, and exploitation by middlemen who controlled market access. Farmers began to form small, voluntary associations where each member contributed to a common pool of resources. These early cooperatives often focused on joint purchasing of seeds, tools, and fertilizers, allowing farmers to reduce costs. By the mid-19th century, Germany and Denmark had become pioneers of cooperative farming models, inspiring similar movements in other European countries. The core principle behind cooperatives is mutual benefit. Each member typically has an equal vote, regardless of how much they contribute financially. This democratic structure ensures that decision-making reflects the collective interest rather than favoring the wealthiest members. In addition to joint purchasing, cooperatives also organize the collective sale of crops, which gives small-scale farmers access to larger markets and better prices. By bypassing intermediaries, cooperatives allow farmers to retain a higher share of profits, fostering economic self-reliance. Over time, agricultural cooperatives expanded beyond Europe to other continents. In North America, the late 19th and early 20th centuries saw a rapid rise in farmer-led organizations, particularly in the United States and Canada. These cooperatives emerged in response to fluctuating crop prices and the monopolistic practices of grain elevators and railroads. In Asia and Africa, cooperative farming gained momentum during the 20th century, often supported by government initiatives aimed at rural development. In India, for example, dairy cooperatives like Amul transformed the nation's dairy industry by enabling small farmers to compete with larger producers. One of the most significant impacts of agricultural cooperatives has been poverty reduction in rural areas. By increasing farmers' income and stability, cooperatives help families invest in better education, healthcare, and technology. They also provide a safety net during times of economic hardship, as risks are distributed among many members. Furthermore, cooperatives often serve as platforms for knowledge sharing, enabling farmers to learn about new techniques, sustainable practices, and market trends that can improve productivity. The social benefits of cooperatives extend beyond economics. By fostering collaboration, they strengthen community bonds and encourage collective problem-solving. In many developing countries, cooperatives have played an essential role in empowering marginalized groups, including women and landless laborers. Women farmers, in particular, benefit from cooperative participation, as it grants them greater access to markets and decision-making processes, which were historically dominated by men. However, agricultural cooperatives also face challenges that can limit their effectiveness. Poor management, lack of transparency, and unequal participation can undermine trust and efficiency. Additionally, in regions with weak infrastructure or unstable political conditions, cooperatives struggle to reach their full potential. Globalization poses another challenge, as local cooperatives must compete with large-scale agribusinesses that operate with significantly greater resources. Despite these difficulties, the cooperative movement continues to adapt in the modern era. Many cooperatives are now embracing digital technologies, such as mobile apps for market price updates, online marketplaces, and data-driven farming tools. These innovations enhance efficiency and allow small farmers to compete more effectively in global markets. With the increasing emphasis on sustainable agriculture and local food systems, agricultural cooperatives remain a vital mechanism for promoting economic stability and social resilience in rural communities. Article 3. The development of museums and their role in society. Museums have long served as important institutions for preserving and interpreting human history, culture, and knowledge. From ancient collections of artifacts in temples and palaces to the modern museums that exist today, these institutions have evolved significantly in both purpose and function. While early collections were often private displays meant to demonstrate wealth and power, contemporary museums aim to educate the public, promote cultural understanding, and inspire scientific and artistic inquiry. This transformation reflects broader social changes, including the rise of democratic values and the increasing accessibility of education. The origins of museums can be traced back to ancient civilizations such as Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Greece. In these societies, valuable objects, ranging from religious relics to rare natural specimens, were collected and displayed in sacred spaces. For example, the Mausoleum in Alexandria, established in the 3rd century BCE, served as both a research institution and a repository for works of art and science. These early collections were primarily reserved for elites, scholars, or religious figures, highlighting the exclusivity of cultural knowledge in the ancient world. The Renaissance era marked a major turning point in the development of museums. Wealthy European nobles and scholars assembled cabinets of curiosity, which showcased exotic objects, scientific instruments, and artworks from around the globe. These collections reflected the period's fascination with exploration and discovery, as European powers expanded into Asia, Africa, and the Americas. Although still private, these collections laid the foundation for the modern museum by emphasizing the systematic study and categorization of knowledge. The Enlightenment of the 17th and 18th centuries further accelerated the evolution of museums. Philosophers and scientists promoted the idea that knowledge should be shared with the public for the betterment of society. As a result, many private collections were open to a broader audience, and new public museums emerged. One prominent example is the British Museum, founded in 1753, which became a model for other institutions around the world. These museums not only displayed art and artifacts, but also reflected Enlightenment ideals of reason, progress, and education. The Enlightenment of the 17th and 18th centuries further accelerated the evolution of museums. Philosophers and scientists promoted the idea that knowledge should be shared with the public for the betterment of society. As a result, many private collections were open to a broader audience, and new public museums emerged. One prominent example is the British Museum, founded in 1753, which became a model for other institutions around the world. These museums not only displayed art and artifacts, but also reflected Enlightenment ideals of reason, progress, and education. Modern museums have expanded their missions to include social engagement and community involvement. Rather than serving solely as repositories of artifacts, many museums now function as interactive educational spaces that encourage public participation. Exhibits are increasingly designed to be immersive and accessible, using multimedia presentations and hands-on activities to reach diverse audiences. Additionally, many institutions have adopted outreach programs to engage local communities, particularly those that have been historically underrepresented in museum narratives. Despite their many benefits, museums face several challenges in the contemporary era. Ethical debates over the ownership of cultural artifacts, especially those acquired during periods of colonialism, have become increasingly prominent. Many institutions are now under pressure to return artifacts to their countries of origin. Additionally, museums must balance the need to attract visitors with the responsibility to provide accurate, scholarly information. Financial sustainability is also a concern, as public funding and donations can fluctuate with economic conditions. The future of museums will likely involve a greater emphasis on digital technology and global collaboration. Virtual exhibits and online collections allow museums to reach audiences far beyond their physical locations, democratizing access to cultural and scientific knowledge. At the same time, partnerships between institutions worldwide can promote cross-cultural understanding and support the preservation of humanity's shared heritage. As society continues to change, museums will remain essential spaces for learning, dialogue, and the celebration of human creativity. Article 4. The evolution of public health systems. Public health systems are organized efforts by governments and communities to prevent disease, promote health, and extend life expectancy. Unlike clinical medicine, which focuses on treating individual patients, public health emphasizes population-wide interventions. These include sanitation, vaccination programs, health education, and disease surveillance. Modern public health systems are the result of centuries of evolving practices, shaped by social, scientific, and political developments. The origins of public health can be traced back to ancient civilizations. The Indus Valley Civilization built complex urban sanitation systems over 4,000 years ago, including drains and bathing facilities, to prevent the spread of disease. Similarly, the ancient Romans constructed aqueducts to supply clean water to cities and implemented sewage systems to remove waste. These early measures reflected a growing awareness that environmental conditions played a critical role in human health, even if the scientific understanding of disease was still limited. During the Middle Ages, Europe experienced devastating outbreaks of plague and other infectious diseases. Public health responses were often reactive rather than preventive, relying on quarantines and rudimentary isolation measures. Cities began establishing boards of health to coordinate disease control, especially during epidemics. While these efforts were inconsistent and often ineffective, they marked an important step toward organized, government-led health interventions. The 19th century brought transformative changes to public health due to industrialization and urbanization. Rapid population growth in crowded cities led to the spread of cholera, tuberculosis, and other communicable diseases. Scientific discoveries, particularly germ theory, revolutionized the understanding of how diseases spread. This knowledge prompted major sanitation reforms, including clean water supplies, sewage treatment, and systematic garbage collection. The public health movement during this period laid the foundation for modern epidemiology and environmental health practices. Vaccination became a cornerstone of public health in the 19th and 20th centuries. Edward Jenner's smallpox vaccine, developed in the late 18th century, demonstrated that diseases could be prevented rather than just treated. Over time, large-scale vaccination campaigns led to the eradication or near elimination of diseases such as smallpox and polio. These successes strengthened the argument that coordinated public health initiatives could dramatically improve population health and reduce mortality. In the 20th century, public health systems expanded beyond infectious disease control to address a wide range of health concerns. Governments began implementing programs for maternal and child health, nutrition, occupational safety, and the prevention of chronic diseases like heart disease and diabetes. Health education campaigns promoted hygiene, vaccination, and healthy lifestyles, while international organizations, such as the World Health Organization, WHO, coordinated efforts to tackle global health challenges. Modern public health faces both new opportunities and challenges. Advances in medical research, data analytics, and biotechnology allow for faster detection and containment of disease outbreaks. At the same time, globalization and urbanization have increased the risk of pandemics, as demonstrated by COVID-19. Non-communicable diseases, often linked to lifestyle and environmental factors, now account for the majority of deaths worldwide. Public health strategies increasingly focus on integrating technology, policy, and community engagement to address these complex issues. The future of public health will depend on the ability to balance prevention, equity, and innovation. Climate change, antibiotic resistance, and emerging infectious diseases require coordinated global action. Strengthening health infrastructure, improving access to care, and fostering international collaboration will be critical to protecting populations. As societies continue to evolve, public health systems will remain central to ensuring human well-being and responding to both familiar and unprecedented health threats.